Philip Teresi in for Chris Daniel this afternoon. The numbers here are 490-5858 and 800-776-5858. We're talking about an op-ed by Christopher Della Cerda calling for Fresno Unified Board President Brooke Ashjian to step down, citing, I guess, an inability to genuinely embrace the district's diversity. And I hit the brakes right there because there's diversity in dissenting opinions, especially when they're personally held, isn't there? I'm confused by Della Cerda's push to see Brooke Ashjian step down. I am confused by the outrage over comments made about personal beliefs. And to help clear a few things up, Brooke Ashjian joins us now. Good afternoon.
Hi, how are you?
I'm doing all right, man. I appreciate you making time for us today.
Absolutely. I apologize for not being able to come in. I've been a little bit busy, as you can tell.
I can imagine. So my first question, can we expect a equally verbose response to Della Cerda's request that you step down?
Let me give you, here's what I would say for my response. And I think the easiest way is, I've heard before where a gentleman said, and it was a guy named Edward A. Guest back in the late 1800s, and he said, I'd rather see a sermon than hear one any day, right? I'd rather one talk with me than merely show the way. The eye is a better pupil, more willing than the ear. Find counsels confusing, but examples always clear. The best of all the preachers are the men who live their creed. To put faith into action is what everybody needs. Let's talk about faith into action. Let me give you, Philip, the last 6 months. Just 6 months since Hanson's been gone and the new board president.
Yeah.
First of all, 5 dual immersion schools hit Fresno Unified. First time ever we have dual immersion. We have dual immersion at Wawona. I put that together in 60 days. Dual immersion for TK and kindergarten kids. Okay. How about the Marjorie Mason Center, Lighthouse for Women, Fresno Rescue Mission never had a liaison with Fresno Unified. So the 65 kids in a domestic violence shelter that are going to school that are completely traumatized had no connection. The principal didn't know who they were. Today, not only do they know who they are, and not only is Fresno Unified tracking them, we have tutors and teachers that are going into those shelters and teaching them how to do homework and sitting with mothers and sitting with kids. Of our most vulnerable population, that has happened under my leadership. How about a complete overhaul of special ed? We're looking at special ed, and we no longer are going to be exclusive of special ed, meaning putting them off into portables in a corner of a campus. These kids are going to be inclusive, especially at Star Elementary, where we're going to build a state-of-the-art autism center like we did at Fig Garden, like we're doing at Ratal Elementary School, like we've done at Atticott. $1 million I put into African-American studies. And when I say African-American studies, that group, that demographic group, is falling off the deep end at a pace that is unparalleled. We have got to figure out what we're doing in those communities and grab those kids to stop that education slide. And because my thinking is this: if it's good for them and if it works for them, it'll work for all children. It'll work. How about tonight we're going to put ShotSpotter again back on and hopefully it'll get approved. I believe it will get approved. A kid can ride his bike from the east side of Fresno to the west side of Fresno, from the middle of I don't want to give you too much details on north and south, but they can ride north and south, and that kid is covered on his bicycle to and from school. And not only that, we just covered almost 65 to 70% of our schools. What we can tell you where the shotter's at, where the shooter's at in 15 seconds, within 1 foot of each other. I did that. I put that partnership together with Mayor Lee Brand, with Jerry Dyer. We also brought the county to the table. The county's going to come, and now the county islands inside the city of Fresno are going to be covered. How about a med school that the Assimi family's putting together with the pharmaceutical college? I cut a deal with the Assimi family and Fresno Unified to where they're going to put 20 seats are available for Fresno Unified kids. The first program has started at Bullard, and we're going to roll it out into other places. These kids, we're going to educate doctors, and we're going to retain doctors in the valley for the poorest of the poor, and we're going to fix some of these asthma issues. And I don't know if you know this, but asthma is the number one reason why kids don't come to school. Asthma.
Yeah, well, Brooke, asthma is the number one reason I'm sitting in the big chair today.
Well, there you go, right? So poor Chris is down for the count. So Valley Children's comes to the table and says, we want to put med centers on your campuses to help our children out for the medical centers. And Todd Valeri says, we're going to put, we're thinking about maybe putting 6 on them. We're going to start at 2 at a time. I went to Todd Centropac. Todd Valeri is my friend over at American Ambulance. Todd Centropac, the CEO of Valley Children's. I personally went and met with Todd Centropac, and I said, hey, listen, 6 isn't going to do it. We've got way bigger needs than that. 6 is not going to do it. He goes, what do you need? I said, I want 36. I want 36 centers for children to receive medical attention.
Yeah.
He said, Brooke, it's done. We have the resources. It's done. How about at the end of this year, we had budgeted 1 psychologist, just one. We were going to go from 50 to 51 or 51 to 52. And the psychologist came to me and said, Brooke, there's no way we can do this. We have to have more. You don't understand the needs that we have. I went and got, instead of 1, now we got 6. We added 5 plus 1 for that. For this, and I'm on record, if you go back and look at the tapes from April 5th, I am on record saying, and this is the craziest part about the whole deal, I said the LGBTQ crowd, that demographic, has the highest rate of suicide amongst our kids.
Yeah.
And we have to address that issue. And then I said, Philip, here's what I said. To lose 1 is too many, and it's important to me. Where is that quote? So now let's put that up against De La Cerda, right? Put faith into action like I started with. Let's put up against De La Cerda. Let me tell you his accomplishment. You ready for this?
Yeah. It's a lot of silence, Brooke.
Yeah. Not one thing can I tell you. The guy needs, here's the deal. He needs to stop consuming water and start carrying it and get to work. I got nothing on that board.
And I've got to ask you, because, I mean, it's a bold statement. And it begs the question, why now? Why is he gunning for you now? Is this an op-ed of opportunity where he thinks that you're weak because the formerly local newspaper has decided that you're the villain du jour? Or is there some other agenda at play here?
So here's what I will say to you: is it the former local newspaper, which I personally believe is an illegitimate source of news, and I don't consider them a legitimate source of news, is taking shots at me because I went after them. They sent a reporter onto our campuses and asked our 14-year-old children about sex ed and about homosexual sex without parental consent. And that's what the fight's over. I said, absolutely not. My daughter was in that room.
Now that's one of those points of contention that De La Cerda does bring up. I guess that the survey that was circulated was approved. It was legit. Here's
the deal. By a low-level guy, it never went to the superintendent, and that's one of the things that I'm going to change immediately is I'm going to go back, and we're going to make board bylaws, and that's what that meeting's about tonight is parental rights for sex ed. We're going to make a board bylaw that says this, especially with that 5-year-old case coming out of Rockland. We're going to say, listen, and I hope my board members will support me, if they're going to talk about sex ed in any form or fashion, we want parents to sign in or sign out.
Well, and Brooke, who was the guy who signed off on this survey? Was it a specific individual? What was his position?
It was, and the B, and I can tell you because the B publicly noticed it was Miguel Arias, our information officer, the guy running for city council.
Okay.
So he signed off on it. He didn't tell anybody. He sends the B reporter. Let me just tell you this, Philip. Here's the deal. If the janitor asked those questions to your child, you'd call the police. If the janitor asked your child, are you having unprotected sex, you'd call the police.
Yeah, there'd be some real reservations there. And, I mean, no doubt, you're right. Let's not underplay. Yes, if a janitor walks up to my kid and starts asking them about their sexual behavior, I'm pulling the ripcord.
So your original question is, why now? Because he's running for re-election. He has nothing to run upon. He's got no money in the bank to run. He can't raise money. He's got and he's got Clint Olivier gunning for him. Clint Olivier is coming on our board. He's running for that office. He's running for that seat. He's fed up. He's fed up with this guy, De La Cerda. He's coming for him, and so what does he got to do? He's got to come after me to try to make a name for himself because he's got nothing else. If you tell me one thing, I'm all ears. Tell me what he's done.
Now, Brooke,
besides vote for Mike Hansen for criminal attorneys, right? or whatever else he was doing. I mean, he voted. We voted with the old superintendent. Where was his voice when the FBI showed up and hit us with the subpoenas for the leaseback problems that we're still dealing with? Where was his pen then?
Well, and these are questions that De La Cerda is going to have to answer, and hopefully he's going to have to answer those questions tonight in front of his constituents.
So, and let me just say this. First of all, I'll tell you this, that some of my best friends are Catholic, and I have to tell you, this Pope that we have now, I love the guy, especially his stance on homeless people and beggars and the different things that he's come out with are incredible. I love the guy, but they're coming after me for my religious beliefs because I have a certain religious belief. What they don't come after that dias for is, how is it that member De La Cerda can sit there holding a rosary beads and doing the rosary while he's conducting the school business?
Well, and Brooke, that's one of the things that's really jumped out at me. And I said it earlier, and I said it to you when we talked off the air this morning. You and I personally and ideologically are coming at the issues from very different places, but the results are what they are. I mean, you talk about bringing 6 new psychologists onto campuses specifically with an eye towards the suicide rate for LGBTQ kids. And one of the things that De La Cerda again beats on in this op-ed that he wrote asking you to step down is the quote that appeared in an interview with Mackenzie Mays where it appears that you implied that homosexuality is a choice and that teaching kids about scientifically, medically accurate, safer sex would somehow encourage kids to jump the fence there. And that's one of those things I've got to ask, is that something that, if that's your personal belief, I can't argue personal belief. Is that something that has influenced your decision-making in setting Fresno Unified policy?
So my Fresno Unified policy has been, I approved the current sex ed curriculum 2 years ago, even though I don't believe what the state is putting out. I voted for it because it's the law. I could have said no. I'm not. You know what? It goes against my belief. It's the law. I voted for it.
So to be perfectly clear, because we got a break coming up here. Although your personal beliefs differ with the law, you personally voted in favor of scientifically and medically accurate sex education with the option to opt out for families who disagree with it.
100%.
Talking to Brooke Ashjian. He's the president of the Fresno Unified School Board. And Brooke, coming back to what we were talking about before the break, you voted for scientifically and medically accurate sex education. Fresno Unified is compliant totally with California state law, and you yourself personally made the choice to take your kids out to educate them yourself about what you believe is correct and what you believe is necessary for them to know at this point in their life. How much of this controversy really boils down to somebody just not liking what you believe personally?
I think it's 100%. If I can't state my opinion of what I think or who I am, what am I doing on this board? What do they need a board for? I have to be able to state my opinion. People knew that when I got on this board that I was pro-life. People knew where I stood with Prop 8. I mean, they knew where I was at. They know that I'm a conservative Republican from Northwest Fresno. They knew that that's what I was. And so for them to all of a sudden come out and go, wow, I can't believe the guy has conservative values. Come on, man, really? This is Philip. Here's what I will say to you, and the correlations are so close they're scary. In 1915, the Ottoman Turks, as you know, show up in Armenia for 2 reasons: 1, to silence the Armenians, and 2, to destroy their churches. This is exactly what these guys are doing to me. They're trying to silence my voice and destroy my religion. We know how that turned out. And I got to tell you that hearing the stories, from my great-grandparents, this is this is not going to go the way that these people that are coming after me think it's going to go. It's just not going to go that way. It's a new day. And I refuse. I don't know. I can tell you this. I don't know how else to say this, but I refuse to dishonor the heritage of the Armenian people.
Brooke,
not going to happen.
Brooke, what do you think? And obviously you can't speak for the new superintendent. What do you think this new superintendent is going to do with all of this nonsense and static? Are you anticipating any kind of pushback from him on your position? Are you expecting him to come in, bang the gavel, and tell everybody to pull it together? How do you see this unfolding?
First of all, the new superintendent is a great man, and the new superintendent has made it very clear. He is for all children, like I am. I'm for all kids. It's Fresno Unified School District. It's not Bullard Unified or Roosevelt or Edison. It's Fresno Unified. When I went down my list and I told you the things that I accomplished, that was for every child in this place. The career technical education, right? The state-of-the-art diesel technology facility that we're going to build that I pioneered for Fresno Unified is coming. The state-of-the-art in the state of California. All children. Every one of our kids deserves the best education. I don't care what color of the rainbow, what nationality. I don't care white, black, brown. It doesn't matter to me. If they're a child and they enter in, we passed the Safe School Resolution, and that was because had nothing to do with, not necessarily immigration. That had to do with schools are safe places for all things, bullying, from everything. And we believe that we educate the entire child, every child. And we're going to do that job. This new superintendent, he's all about that. He is not going to get drugged down into the mire of this thing and the way that the winds are blowing with the out-of-town people that are coming in. A guy from Washington, D.C. is really going to write an email wanting me to resign in Fresno, California. That's going to go over real well? Come on.
Fresno Unified School Board President Brooke Ashjian, thank you for making time for us this afternoon. I know you've got a very busy day, and I look forward to hearing more at the meeting tonight, sir.
Thank you, brother. Talk to you soon.